Mazda's range of SUVs is growing and expanding fast, with a whole new range of cars announced at the end of last year. They're going to have a car for every category, including a few categories that don't even really exist. In the subcompact class though, sitting between the CX-3 and the CX-5 is this, the CX-30. Based on the Mazda 3 small car, the CX-30 will eventually replace the CX-3. Both cars fill the same brief, although the CX-30 is a little bit larger and also a bit more expensive. Plus it's a cleaner, fresher design. From the front you can quite clearly see this car's connection to the Mazda 3 with the sleek, narrow headlights with chrome accents and the signature wide Mazda grille. In profile you can see that this car is noticeably larger than the CX-3 and has a similar sort of shape to the Mazda 3 hatch. The 16-inch wheels do look a little bit small to me. The higher spec models do get 18s, but I do like the dark look of these alloys. But what I really don't like actually is this grey plastic trim on the wheel arches that extends the length of the car. To me, it just looks a little bit cheap, and it's on every model of the CX-30. At the back we've got the signature Mazda taillight design with one big round light. It's quite a high sort of pointy rear end, and underneath the tailgate here we've got a 317 litre storage space, which can obviously be expanded by lowering the 60/40 rear folding split seats. There are no less than 10 different versions of the CX-30 available. This entry-level pure model gets a 2-litre 4-cylinder naturally aspirated engine that drives its power to the front wheels only via a 6-speed automatic transmission, although there is a manual version available as well. The engine outputs 114 kilowatts of power and 200 newton meters of torque. Fuel efficiency is 6.5 litres per 100 kilometres on a combined cycle. So far, so good, but it's once you step inside the CX-30 that you really can see that this is a world apart from the CX-3. It feels really premium in here with a far more contemporary, cutting-edge, clean design, soft touch materials everywhere, and of course, Mazda's brand new 8.8-inch center console screen. This screen gets the latest MZD software, which is so much better than the old software that it replaces. The only issue I have with it is the fact that this is not a touch screen. It can only be operated via a rotary dial, which makes entering in addresses to the native navigation system a not terribly fun experience. Also, Apple CarPlay does not work well with a rotary dial. It really is designed for touch. There's a 8-speaker sound system, which is quite tinny. No climate control in this car. In fact, I can't think of any car I've reviewed lately that doesn't have some sort of climate control system, but we do get a fairly rudimentary air conditioning setup, which in a car this size actually works quite well. And that's all there is really to report here in the middle of the center console. It's very clean and very minimalist. Moving down to the lower console, we've got a space to keep your phone, but no phone charging, not even a USB, a couple of cup holders, a fairly typical lower console here with the gear shifter, the rotary dial for the MZD software, and the drive mode control to flick this car in and out of sport mode. A nice soft armrest here on top of the center console bin, which slides forward and up. A pretty decent sized bin in there. We've got 2 USB-A outputs. Head-up display on the windshield is a nice inclusion on this entry-level pure model. All CX-30s get the same instrument cluster, which is a hybrid digital unit. Not a lot of customization available in it. There's really only 2 display modes, but it is very clean and easy to read. The steering wheel is actually quite large for a car this size. It sort of reminds me of the one in the MX-5. It's really sporty and has a really good feel to it. I especially like the switch gear on it, which is really solid. It's great feeling metal switches here that rock backwards and forwards, and some nice buttons as well. It's a nice steering wheel. Seating position is pretty good. I'm nice and high in the cabin. I can see right to the front of the bonnet pretty much. Good visibility through the rear vision mirror. Not so good through the wing mirrors, but I've got plenty of headroom nowhere near the ceiling. These seats are quite comfortable. There's no electric adjustment. It's manual only. The seats are fabric and they actually have a pretty good feel to them. Up on top of the dash, we've got nice soft touch materials all through with a nice contrasting blue and grey finish. That continues over here to the doors, which get a little bit firmer, and some more fabric here on the middle of the insert. The back seat of the CX-30 is actually not too bad. I mean, I'm 190 centimeters tall and I'm behind my own seating position here, and yes, my knees are into the seat in front of me, but there's no hard plastic shell, so it's actually fairly comfortable. I mean, I could really dig my knees into the driver if I really wanted to be a not very nice person, but I wouldn't do that. Plenty of foot room too, and you could squeeze 3 adults in here sort of on a shortish trip. You wouldn't want to do a long trip in the back of this car. There's no rear air vents or climate control back here, but it's a small car, so the air passes through quite easily. Plenty of headroom too, and no rear armrest, but we do have a cup holder here at the bottom of the door insert. So all up, pretty good. The first thing I noticed when I got in this car is that unlike its Korean rivals, it's not turbocharged, and only having 6 gears means that, ironically, this car doesn't actually have a lot of zoom, where most cars in this segment would have 7 or 8. It can often pick the wrong one, and I noticed this happened when I was driving along the freeway on a bit of a downhill stretch, kind of coasting along. It went to a maybe 3rd gear, and it really made a lot of noise. And that was a pothole. But this car is a lot more comfortable than some of its rivals. The combination of soft touch materials all through the dash and the nice smooth ride makes this a very comfortable cabin to be in. So it all just really depends on what's important to you. Mazdas have long had a reputation as not being the quietest cars to drive, and I think that's a combination here of a high revving engine and also a bit of road noise and even some wind noise coming through the cabin. I won't include the sound of the rain currently hitting the windshield. There are only 2 drive modes, normal and sport, so flicking it into sport does give the engine a little bit of a kick as it down changes, but that's really all that happens. And it's certainly hanging on to those gears a bit longer. It's getting a bit noisy now. I think I'll go back to normal. Oh yeah, so you put your foot down and that noise really does kick in. I can't help but think that a 1.5 litre turbo would just be a little bit better in this car. And look, it's not underpowered, but I mean, we're doing 80 on the freeway at the moment, and it's not that it's struggling to go at that speed, but it just doesn't feel quite as confident or as assured or as eager to go forward as some other cars. I was stuck in bumper-to-bumper traffic on the freeway the other morning, and I put the car's adaptive cruise control on because we were not moving anywhere fast, and it worked really, really well. It was fantastic at just keeping a great distance from the car in front of us, and it was stopping and starting all by itself. It really did make the stress of being stuck in bumper-to-bumper traffic a lot easier. This car also has street sign recognition, so it will tell you when the speed limit changes, and you can see that up in front of you on the head-up display on the windshield, along with your speed and also the adaptive cruise control settings, which for an entry-level car in this class is a great feature to have. But not having a turbo and all that extra torque going to the front wheels means that in the wet, taking off at the lights, you're a lot less likely to get wheel spin. I have to say, this car has really grown on me actually. I didn't really like it when I first got in it. Admittedly, I had just gotten out of an electric BMW, which was wonderful in every sense of the word, so stepping into this did take a little bit of adjustment. But over the week I've had it, it's really grown on me, and it is a very nice, engaging car to drive. Yes, it has its faults, but as subcompact SUVs go, it's extremely comfortable. Subcompact SUV category is a ferociously competitive one, with the CX-30 priced about the same as the Toyota CHR and several thousand more than the Hyundai Kona, although this is undoubtedly a more premium product. As a driver, I'd prefer to be behind the wheel of a CHR. As a passenger, I think I'd prefer to be in the CX-30. If only we could find a way to splice the two together.